You've probably heard people say we can finally touch our pension, but what does that really mean? Will you get more money now or less when you retire? In today's episode, we unpack the truth behind the two-part retirement system, what it means, how it affects your savings, what you need to do before making any withdrawals. Hi, I'm Daddy Shabalala. Welcome to the Wealth, Wellness and Wisdom podcast. South Africans have been talking about the two-part systems for months. In taxis, at work, even at family gatherings. Some think it's free money, others think government is taking from their pension monies. Both can't be right, so let's break it down and unpack it properly. Imagine you've worked for 10, 15, even 20 years faithfully, contributing to your provident fund. You've seen those deductions every month, but when life hits, maybe retrenchment, a sick child, or just the rising cost of living, that money seems like it's locked away. The two-part system promises to give you access. The access always comes with responsibility. This system was designed to help people who are struggling now, but it can also hurt your future if you don't understand how it works. The real question is, will this change set you free financially, or will it keep you trapped in the short-term thinking? We've seen this story before. New rules come in, people rush to withdraw. A few years later, they retire with almost nothing. But this time, you have a chance to do it differently. Knowledge is what separates regret from empowerment. In this episode, we'll break it down. The difference between a pension and a provident fund, what vested really means, why your tax matters, and what you should do before touching your retirement money. Let's make sure you are informed, not just excited. From the 1st of September, South Africa entered a new financial era, the two-part retirement system. And within weeks, thousands of people had already withdrawn from their savings. Not because they were careless, but because life right now is expensive and many families need a breather. The truth is, there's no shame in that, but there's power in understanding how it all works. Next decision builds your future, not just fixes your present. Whether you've withdrawn or not, this affects every working South African. The two-part system changes how your retirement savings are structured, how much money you can access, how much you can keep invested, and how you can get taxed. And because this is new, many people are making quick choices without the right information. We all know what it feels like when life squeezes you financially. Petrol, food, school fees, debt, and then you hear you can finally access part of your retirement saving. That sounds like relief. And for many people, it was. For some, it meant catching up on areas, breathing room to get back on track. That's okay. But what's even better is learning what that withdrawal means and how it affects what you'll have later. Before this system, many Provident Fund members could take their full savings in cash at retirement, while pension fund members had to use 2/3 to buy an annuity. The two-part system is harmonizing those rules, making them fairer and more consistent across the board. But with changes comes confusion. Terms like vested, non-vested, and savings part can sound technical, but they simply describe how your money is divided, what's protected, what's accessible, and what continues to grow for your future. Here's why this matters. The decision you make today affects what kind of retirement you'll have tomorrow. Even with a small withdrawal today, can change the base that will compound and grow over time. But that doesn't mean you can't recover. With good planning and advice, consistency, you can rebuild that balance and even surpass it. The two-part system is here to stay. And whether you're in a pension fund, provident fund, or retirement annuity, it's worth knowing how it works. That's what we are unpacking in this episode. Not to tell you what to do, but to help you understand what's at stake and how to plan better for your future. So now that we understand why the two-part system matters, let's break down what it actually is. Because the moment you understand how it works, you'll start seeing where your money sits and what your options really are. Before September 2024, pension funds and provident funds worked differently. Pension fund members could only take 1/3 of their money in cash at retirement. The rest had to buy a monthly income known as an annuity. But Provident Fund members could take all their money in cash when they retired. Here's the part that most people miss. The two-pot system didn't wipe away your old money. Everything you saved before 1 September 2024 stays in what we call your vested component. This means it will keep all the old rules of your fund. If you were in your pension fund, you'll still follow the pension fund rules. If you were in a provident fund, you can still take those savings in cash as retirement, especially member contributions, which were already taxed when you made them. From 1st September 2024, though all contributions go into non-vested component, that's where the new rules apply. 1. The vested pot. This is the pre-September 2024 savings, the old money. It keeps your old identity. You'll access it at retirement under your fund's previous rules. The key point: if you were in a provident fund, your member contributions were made from post-tax income. So when you withdraw that portion later, you don't pay tax on it again. Number 2, savings pot. This is the 1/3 portion of your new contributions from the 1 September 2024 onwards. You can access it once per tax year. Minimum 2,000, it's taxed at your normal income rate. Government also moved 10% of your vested savings up to 30,000 into this pot on the day to give people flexibility. 3. The retirement pot. This is the 2/3 portion of your new contribution. You can't touch this until you retire. It's locked in to build your future income. This is where compound growth works the hardest for you. If you are in a pension fund, not much changes. You already had the 1/3 rule. If you are in a provident fund, that's where the new system brings in the biggest changes. But again, only on the new contributions after 1st September 2024. Everything you've saved before then stays vested and you can still take it in cash at retirement. If you are in a retirement annuity, the two-pot system also applies, but withdrawals from the savings pot follow stricter administrative steps through the fund provider. Let's say you had 300,000 in your provident fund on the 31st of August. That entire amount is your vested pot. From September onwards, you and your employer contribute 3,000 per month. 1,000 goes into a savings pot, accessible once a year. 2,000 goes into a retirement pot, locked in until retirement. Your 300,000 stays under the old rules, and the new contribution follows the new system. Why does this structure exist? The idea is to balance the two things. Access when you need it, that's the savings pot. Protection for your future, that's the retirement pot. It's not perfect, but it's designed to reduce hardship without leaving you broke later. So that's the structure: 3 pots, 2 timelines, and 1 goal to help South Africans save smarter and access their money responsibly. Next, we'll look at the how, the practical side. How you decide whether you withdraw or wait, and what does the tax actually look like in real numbers. Now that we know what the two-pot system is and how it's structured, the biggest question is, should I withdraw or should I wait? This is where real-life choices come in. Because each decision has a ripple effect, it's not the same for everyone. If you take money from your savings pot, it's not a free payout. It's considered income for that tax year. That means SARS will take it at your marginal tax rate, the same way your salary is taxed. So, if you earn 25,000 Rand per month, that's 300,000 per year. And if you withdraw 20,000, your taxable income becomes 320,000. Depending on your tax bracket, that could push you slightly higher and you'll pay tax accordingly. Here's the part most people don't realize. When you withdraw early, you reduce your compound growth. That 20,000 might feel small now, but over 20 years, it could have grown to 80,000 Rand or more, depending on the returns. Let's take Naledi, 35-year-old teacher. She earns 25,000 Rands a month and has 18,000 available in her savings pot. She decides to withdraw the 18,000. settle some store accounts. Here's what happened. SARS takes about 4,500 in tax. Naledi receives roughly 13,500 in her pocket, which helps in the short term. But let's look at the long-term impact. If that 18,000 had stayed invested and grown at 9% per year, in 15 years it would have been worth around 61,000. So the real cost of that decision wasn't 18,000. It was 47,500 in future growth. Let's look at another example. The engineer who waited. Meet Kabelo, a 40-year-old engineer. He also has 20,000 in his savings pot, but instead of withdrawing it, he leaves it invested. After 1 year, his pot grows by 8%, adding 1,600 without him doing anything. 2 years later, Kabelo's car breaks down. He withdraws 10,000, not the full amount. His tax is lower because he withdrew less, and his remaining 12,000 keeps growing. 1. Check your reason. Is it an emergency, medical, education, or basic survival? Or is it a lifestyle, shopping, upgrades, and wants? If it's not survival, wait. 2. Check the cost. How much tax will you pay on the withdrawal? What future growth will you lose by withdrawing? Number 3, check the alternative. Can you cover the expenses another way? Side income or better budgeting? 4, check the impact. Will this leave you short later? How will it affect your retirement goal? 5, check the timing. Withdraw once, not every year. The system allows annual access, not annual temptation. So let's look at examples of withdrawal versus waiting. Let's use real numbers. You have 15,000 in your savings pot. If you withdrew it today, taxed at 25%, you'll take home about 11,250. But if you leave it invested for 10 years at 9% annual returns, that same 15,000 becomes almost 36,000. The question becomes, do you need 11,000 now or do you need 36,000 later? The two-pot system isn't perfect, but it's a tool. And tools can either build or break depending on how you use them. If you understand it, you'll use it wisely, not emotionally. So now that you understand how the two-pot system actually works in practice, how tax and growth and access all come to connect. Next, we'll move into the final part, the now, where we talk about what you can do today to make the most of your pots, protect your retirement, and plan for your withdrawals with intentions. Before we wrap up, there's one important detail that many people miss, and it can make a big difference when you retire. You might have heard terms like vested and non-vested benefits. They sound technical, but really it's about one thing. When your money was saved. What is vested money? Think back before March 2016. That's when the tax harmonization laws kicked in. Before then, you were a member of a provident fund, your own contributions were made after tax, meaning SARS had already taken its share. That old money, the part you saved before 2016, plus all the growth on it, is called your vested component. It's important because you can still take all of it as cash when you retire. Just like before, no annuitization rules apply here. What is non-vested money? From 1st March 2016, the law changed. All new contributions from you or your employer are now made before tax, just like in a pension fund. This is part of what's called the tax harmonization of retirement funds under the taxation law amendments. These post-2016 savings are non-vested component, and when you retire, you'll only be able to take up 1/3 of that money as cash. These post-2016 savings are your non-vested component. And when you retire, you'll only be able to take up to 1/3 of that money as cash. The rest, the 2/3, must be used to buy a monthly pension called an annuity. Who does this affect most? If you were 55 or older on the 1st of March 2021, you were generally protected. Your fund remained fully vested unless you moved into a new fund. But if you were under 55, your Provident Fund started creating new sections, your non-vested pot, from that date onwards. This means today many South Africans have a mix of both vested old rules and non-vested new rules. The balance between the two depends on your age and your fund history and when your contributions were made. Why does this matter? When you plan your retirement or even just consider a withdrawal, you need to know which pot you are touching. Because vested money has already been taxed, non-vested monies will be taxed when you withdraw or annuitize. In short, vested equals old rules, after tax fully withdrawable. Non-vested equals new rules, before tax, partly locked in for retirement. Knowing the difference helps you plan better, avoid tax shocks, and make sure your long-term retirement becomes protected. Now that you understand the two-pot system and how the vested and non-vested parts work, the big question is, what should you actually do next? Because information without action changes nothing, let's talk about what to do today to protect your future. 1. Check which pots you have. Start with your retirement fund statement or contact your HR department or fund administrator. They can show you your vested balance, your old money before March 2016. Your savings pot, the 1/3 of which contributions you can access once a year. Your retirement pot, the 2/3 locked in until the age of 55. Once you know these numbers, you can make better choices. Second, think twice before withdrawing. If you're considering withdrawing from your savings pot, pause. Ask yourself, do I need this money for an emergency or a lifestyle expense? What's the tax implication on this withdrawal? How much future growth am I giving up? For example, withdrawing 30,000 today might mean losing over 100,000 in future value depending on your investment growth, and that's the power of time. 3. Understanding the tax side. Remember, your savings pot withdrawal is taxed at your marginal income tax rate. That means it adds on top of your salary for that year. So if you are earning 400,000 a year and you withdraw 30,000, SARS sees that as 430,000 income. Always check with a tax practitioner or a financial advisor before making a withdrawal. 4. Build your emergency fund outside your retirement. The two-pot system gives you access to some savings, but that's not the same as having an emergency fund. Use this as a wake-up call. Build a separate emergency fund in your savings account or money market account so you don't have to touch your retirement money. 5. Get personal advice. Every person's situation is different. Your age, your fund type, and tax bracket all matter. Before making decisions, speak to your fund consultant or a trusted financial advisor who understands both the legislation and your goals. This isn't about chasing quick money. It's about building lasting security. 6. A final message: stay curious, stay empowered. The two-pot system isn't just a policy change. It's a change to reconnect. 6. The final message: stay curious, stay empowered. The two-pot system isn't just policy change. It's a chance to reconnect with your money, to understand it, and to take control. So before you withdraw, before you move your funds, take a moment to ask, what does this mean for my future self? That's where the real financial freedom begins. Not in how much you withdraw, but how well you understand your wealth. If you found this episode helpful, share with a colleague or friends who's confused about the two-pot system. And if you'd like a personal consultation to understand your parts and plan your next step, you'll find my details in the description below. Let's build a South Africa where financial literacy is power, not just privilege. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a colleague or friends who's confused about the two-pot systems. And if you'd like a personal consultation to understand your parts and your plan for your next steps, you'll find my details in the description below. Thank you for watching.